Indeed.
All right, Chevra, this is, Mitzvah Hashem, the last, at least beginning of a Minatzchim meeting in Golos. And the second to last one before Yud Aleph Nissan of Minatzchim Shana. And all of us are in a state where, that we are juggling emotions. On the one hand, Yud Aleph Nissan Minatzchim Shana, in a sense of simcha, that is a culmination of a lifetime. From Satan's side, we feel the tremendous achrayus. How do we? What does Yud Aleph Nissan Minatzchim Shana? What should I do? How do I engage this day and what it means in the Hayrayos of this day? And then also the Tzabrachenkeit. How is it shaykh that as we're approaching this day, then everything that the Rebbe has committed is still in a matziv of incompletion, and that if anything further strengthens the second emotion that we have, something we have to be doing something, and it cannot be just another thing, another ma'aber, another achlata. Yud Aleph Nissan Minatzchim Shana has to be the quantum leap. It has to be once and for all. By the way, that's not coming from me. The background noise is not coming from me. Of course, we're all figuring this out in a pratistic life, in a pezenlich life, and we're figuring this out in a global way in terms of our communities, and it's just trying to help others figure this out. We know that Merkez is doing this incredible pull of 120 million mitzvahs, and as Ramesha came on here to galvanize the Minatzchim, and he said that we have to give the Rebbe ammunition. You have to give the Rebbe ammunition that he can turn to the Eibishter and say, look what the Yidden are doing. How can we still be in Golos after this kind of achlata and this kind of effort? Having said all that, having said all of this, this is all from Ein Zayt, working within confines of a Golistic mentality. We have to do something that we have to bring by ourselves a quantum leap, because we are the Rebbe's Chassidim. If we can't live in that Geulitic fashion, then it can't happen in the rest of the world. So this was primarily the brainchild, or at least the innovator of this. The credit goes to Reb Ruvain, who said that we have to come to the Rebbe, and if we are claiming and we are screaming that say Nenu liris asmalkenu and genugshein, enough is enough, we are too deep into this golus to be satisfied and complacent with it, even though that it's been 30 years, and Baruch Hashem, we've seen incredible hatzlacha. The Rebbe's vision is taking over the world in a way that would have been hard to fathom before Gimel Tammuz, Kol Shekain immediately after Gimel Tammuz. That right now Shluchim and Chabad is the most vital, dynamic, and accepted element in Yiddishkeit, the most engaged part in Yiddishkeit. We are growing exponentially in all fronts, and it's an amazing thing. But this is all Golos. This is all Golos. This is not what we're doing. This is not why we're doing this. This is not what the Rebbe has empowered us to do what we're doing. We are the Rebbe's soldaten to bring the Geula, the Chayali Beis David, the Minatzech over Hashechefu equals the Shechecha, and to get across the finish line. And so we turn to the Rebbe and we say, Rebbe, we are tzubrachim from the fact that we're gefinnen sich in Galus with all the gashmistic issues and all the tzaddis that's been going on, with especially lately with everything. And even would it be a pleasant times, and it would be wonderful, and we would be living by Chava still. We're still stuck here in Galus, and so nothing is acceptable. It's a nenu lires es malkenu. And that's not to go back to the way it was in the mems and the nuns. We don't have the gaiguim for what we lost. We have the benkinish and the gaiguim and the ratzing to go forward into the Geula Shlema. That's what we mean when we say Come to Yud Aleph Nissan and we say Ana Nasiv Malka. And we say it and we mean it. Ein melech b'loi am. Ein melech b'loi am. And it has to start with us. Many of us, most of us, maybe even all of us, never signed the Ksavis Kashrus back Yud Shvat Tafshin Yud Aleph, where each one of the Chassidim had the ability, had that moment, that opportunity, in a sense, the Gedila, to be able to say, I choose the Rebbe. And sure, every Yud Shvat and every Yud Aleph Nissen, we write Panim to the Rebbe. But now is perhaps an opportunity, perhaps a necessity. We saw how much the Rebbe was mechaviv, and the Rebbe was mo'edid, the idea that Chassidim should be mekabel malchusay, kabbalas hamalchus. And unfortunately, since Gimel Tammuz, this has become something so vital that has been mired in politics. And we're going to speak openly. This is perhaps the lasting damage and wound among Hasidim, among us, as we have built Chabad houses and as we have grown in everything. The lasting wound has been the rift about this most vital point. And Baruch Hashem, we have seen these recent months, days, years, you can even say, a healing of this. The fact that Chassidim and Shluchim around the world are able really to unite on Inyani Geula Mashiach and to talk in Afena hate, Breita hate, and to lead the world. And the world is now talking Afena hate and Breita hate. And so it's time to make that quantum leap, to krich out of our own goals, and to sign on the bottom line, Rebbe, Anu Amecha V'Atam Alkinu. And to many, we would say, okay, most chaver here on this group would say that for me, I am comfortable signing. But is Gans Lubavitch comfortable in signing such a thing that says it clear and often that through this we are being Mekayim the Rebbe Zayra and Tafshim Memches of the saying Yechi HaMelech. Could a document that says something like this, that with this we are being Mekayim the Hayra of the Rebbe to say Yechi HaMelech, would that have appeal across Gans Lubavitch? And this was a concern that we brought to Reb Shalom. We asked Reb Shalom Chatanov. We sat down, the chaver that were originally putting this together. It was a mashpia, a universally respected mashpia. If this is an inyan that a hira that should be pursued, this particular effort should be pursued in the lead up to Yud Aleph Nissen. And he said that we have from the Rebbe the answer that when Bernhardt from South Africa wrote to the Rebbe about Kabbalas Hamalchus, the Rebbe's answer was Tali b'Tanoi Hamakim Chabad al Asar Levar, which means that the Rebbe was not did not push back on the etzem inyan, just that we have to be sensitive about whether the Chabad in all the areas are ready, whether the items to tell you are necessary, but whether there's the kelim to tikkun. I wouldn't even say these are items to tell you. Items to tell you means this is something beyond the world. The world is ready. The shaila is whether we have the kelim to tikkun to plug it in to the world. And the Rebbe was saying we have to be sensitive to this. And this was Rabbi Shalom's point. And so a draft of this lashon prepared, the Ksav Kabbalas Hamalchus, prepared by Shalom Ber Wolf, who wrote the Sefer Inyani Shel Mashiach, was brought to many, if not most, of what we would all consider the leaders in Lubavitch, the Rabbanim, the Mashpiyim, etc. And it has been remarkable how pretty much without hesitation we have the participation of many of the names that are the biggest names in Lubavitch on both sides of the aisle, if we can call it that, both sides of the political aisle, the terminology that we just used today. But we are talking about I think nearly the entire Vad Rabbani Lubavitch in Eretz Yisrael, the Rabbanim of Kachabad, of Kiryat Gat, Dalemek, Mashpim, Rabbanim in America, the Rabbanim in Crown Heights, Mashpim in Crown Heights, Rabbi Chaikin, Rabbi Yossi Shusterman, Rabbi David Shachat. I mean, these are names that are really across the board. The full list, somebody who has access to it, if they can maybe even share it, because it is an unbelievable list, which just goes to show it should be Mechaya Nefesh to all of us, that really Gans Lubavitch helped Shin great. And so just read that aspect, that foundationary work of this has been done already. Now the next thing is the implementation of this, because the goal is to be able to present to the Rebbe on Yud Aleph Nisan Me'av Esrim Shana a clear declaration from his Chassidim that we are hereby being Mekabel Malchusei Aleinu. And the effort is to have the number, just the number tying into the day, 120,000 plus, and whatever more, but 120,000 of Anash, men, women, and children, Bachrim, the light Shluchim, should all, Chasmit, should all sign that on this Ksav, on this universal Ksav Hiskashus, which is both points. A, that we're all signing this Kabbalah Samachos. B, we're all signing together on the same Kabbalah Samachos, the same Lashon. We're all united in this. And this is the effort. We have this lashon prepared. Not only is the lashon prepared, but we actually have a team, the perhaps the best team in Lubavitch working on this. They are the ones, the Raisathon team. They are the ones that Marcus is using for the One Mitzvah campaign. The same group are enthusiastic and on board and preparing videos and the platform for this. We're going to do this like a charity Raisathon campaign, where we are looking to reach our goal of signatures, where everybody's going to sign their name, Ben Imai. They can be anonymous if they want, but the names will go to the Rebbe. And most importantly, that it's not just we're signing on the bottom line, but we're sealing it with a commitment, with a hachlata, so that this Kabbalah Samachos comes with something mamashistic, a hachlata teva. And this whole platform is being built, and the videos, the promotion videos are being prepared, and the achlatas are being collected of ideas. And now, in a sense, kind of like the Uvikshu in general, what is important now, and where everybody here can really help, is that the direct engagement, the boots on the ground with every single kehillah in Lubavitch, which is to go to identify who are the Rabbanim, are Mashpim, are Shluchim, that are the leaders within their particular communities around the world, that we can reach out to directly, send them a packet of information about this. So really, to a certain degree, you have the 30-second elevator pitch, which we will send to everybody, what you say, the bullet points of all these points which we just said. I am not known for speaking succinctly, so you got the long speech here, but the 30-second elevator pitch, and you'll turn to them and say, and what's your email? I will send you kind of the packet of the video, the links, their talking points if they want to make this part of their Fabrengen Yud Aleph Nisan. And the point we are telling to all these people is this is not to conflict with whatever they're doing for Yud Aleph Nisan. Adrabah, this is enhancing it. If you're doing a Malav Malki, you're doing a Fabrengen, you're doing whatever it is, this becomes a tent pole, a central tent pole of whatever you're doing. This is in a sense, the call to action, culmination. Come and let's join in our little Fabrengen here in our corner of the world. We are joining Gans Chassidim to sign on this universal Kabbalah Samalchus, to break ourselves out of our own Golos mentality. We have to stop thinking Golistic. We have to be Makabel, our Melech upon us, and therefore we say, Rebbe, you have your Am, and now Uvikshu, so they came as Dov and Malcolm, and now at this point, take us out. Take us out of Golos. Who you Galenu? So this is the effort, and that we're asking if all the Minatzchim and anybody else can help be mishtatif in it. And we'll do the same thing like we did last time. We'll be putting up on the Minatzchim WhatsApp a spreadsheet with all the various kehilas, and if people can populate it with the points of contact they think are the best in those communities to be the ones to lead their communities. Chabad al Asar Levarer. And as Reb Zusha says, his understanding of the Rebbe's Verte Chabad al Asar Levarer is that it's Chabad, it's the job of Chabad al Asar to be Mevarer the Golus Chumnius and to turn it into Geula to Geula. So that we have to go and in each of these kehilas find the person and move them to the point where they themselves are sharing this. On that note, first of all, tremendous Yasher Keach goes to the B'zusha for being the one who got the majority, if not 90% of all these the incredible list of names was Reb Zusha's first effort to track them down, sometimes spending days just to track down one person, and then sitting with them on the phone to convince them. And as Reb Zusha himself said, there was basically no no's. Nobody said outright no. Some said they're waiting on one or two other people, and when those came on, they themselves came on board. But it has been a remarkable and eye-opening experience to see how pretty much on Iksav Kashrus that really doesn't mince any words. That Iksav Kabbalah Samachos says it pretty straightforward. There has been little to no pushback, and it's a remarkable thing. And so, in the next couple of days, the packet will be prepared. In the meantime, because time is of the essence, we want to launch the campaign of 120 hours before Yud Aleph Nisan, i.e. 5 days. So the thought would be sometime on Thursday, this Thursday, which means 3 days from now, to launch this. And by that point, to already have given at least to the leadership in all the Lubavitcher Kehilas the information they need so that when this launches, they can join the effort. They can immediately join the effort and start directing people to the website. And again, another credit goes to the position that there's going to be 2 massive events in Eretz Yisrael. One put on by Tzach and one put on by Mata Mashiach via Aleph Nisan. And for whatever reason, because we're still in Gullus, there's 2 different events. And maybe sometimes there needs to be 2 different events because, but the single unifying factor between these 2 events is that both of them have agreed to make this Inyan a center point of their event, which is an unbelievable thing. So the thousands of participants in both of these events in Eretz Yisrael will be automatically moved towards signing this Ksav Kabbalah Samachos. And the effort is to make this across the board. Work is being done right now with Mendel Mintz and others to make sure that this becomes front and center in the main event at Crown Heights, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, the hope is, and our fervent demand / request from the Rebbe is that that knowing already that without us having to sign the Gashmis, you already know, Rebbe, that they stay already in our neshama, and with our nefesh, ruach, and neshama, and with our heart and our mind, and everything we do. This is already a truth that you know, and that should be all that's necessary, and we should already prove it. Yud Aleph Nisan be mekabel the Rebbe b'payil mamish today, Mitzvah Hashem. With and Melech B'Yafi Techazana Inenu and V'hu Yigalenu.
Mandy, is Mandy on? Mandy Rubenfeld? He was on.
He was so inspired. He's already rushing to his kehillah to spread the news.
You know, the reason why I asked because I just emailed him the list for him to share, and I think it would be nice to see this.
If you'll send it to me, I can.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna email it. I'll try to email it. Maybe it's an issue. I had to get off before something went wrong with my email here. Or Reuven, do you have access to the list?
Problem is, if I go to the list, since I'm joining on the phone, I'm going to lose. I'm going to fall off the Zoom.
Okay, that's what happened to me a minute ago. I might just have no choice and do that, and I will email it to you. Send it. Oh no, this is something else.
This is right now. Just it's going to be updated, but this is just a sense what we're looking of a direction that we were going with the
I'm
brand.
not sure they're gonna. I'm not sure. We're not sure they're going to use this graphic. This is the one that we got, but we'll see what they're going to be doing. This fantastic group. You know, the miracle that's going on over here. I can point out to what's he called Adenu Neflois, the plois, this double plois over here. This plois Bakal Mika Koil. The Pella that Sandy's been talking about, that people were so terrified of these inyanim for so many years, and now you have, you know, Chabad Mamish, the entire. If you take a look at this list, Hashem will share it in a few minutes when we have it up, to see such these Rabbanim. This is not not people that you would generally associate with the extreme right part of Lubavitch. This is across the board. And I have to say something very interesting, that in the beginning, when I was inspired to get such a campaign going, I was more inspired to do it in a way of like, we'll run our thing, and hopefully we'll be like a Molmata Molmailot kind of a campaign that doesn't consider, you know, authority. We're going to go against authority. We're just going to do our thing, you know, and we're going to create this momentum, similar like the truckers going off in Canada and doing their protest and something like that. That was my intention. But then I got a very clear answer from the Rebbe, and I shared it with Sandy, with Usha. The Rebbe was very, very strongly insisting that it has to be done with Lubavitch and with the organization of Lubavitch. You can't bypass the system. And I became so heavy when I heard that, and I said, impossible. There's no way Lubavitch is going to go with this. There's no way that the established system of Lubavitch will be able to come on board on something like this. And Reb Zusha Nishna Spolgavar, and then he picked up the phone and he started reaching out to people. And the emissaries, there's no other explanation other than the fact that now is Hazman Geramal Azeh. You have to say this, that the Rebbe, this is we can't delay this anymore. Hazman Gerama, Wolf, what's his name? Shalom Ber Wolf, who wrote the initial draft for the campaign, said that in 1970 in Tafshin Lamed, when there was, I think that during the time of the Sefer Torah for Mashiach, at that time, I think it was Rabben Shem Tov, wanted to make a campaign that everybody should learn Derech Metzasecha Mitzvahs Minui Melech, because everybody was feeling that Mamish, it's going to be the revelation of Mashiach now, that everybody should understand and should be ready for Minui Melech. And the Rebbe told him at that time, Ein Hazman Gerama Lezeh Klal Uklal. So in other words, the Rebbe didn't say no, but the Rebbe said Ein Hazman Gerama Lezeh. The time has not come for this. And I believe that after, in a sense, once the blur goes away, once you can see with clarity, the fact that for 30 years, after what we've seen, Tafshin Nun Beis, after those incredible pounding sichas, where the Rebbe pounded us week after week after week, saying such giluyim, that Mashiach Tzidkeinu was already here, he's already poil on the world, and the Rebbe told us his name, and the Rebbe told us his address, and the Rebbe told us, and of course the Rebbe kept saying everything to the Rebbe the Shver, but we all understood, Nasi Dareinu. The Rebbe was like non-stop telling it to us, and then the Rebbe came out on the porch the entire Nun Gimel and encouraged it in such Eugen Eufen, and we are such, and Chassidim are so bottled to the Rebbe. We're so, every word is, we don't understand the Shchinim and the Beres with the Groinoi. We understand this is pure divinity, and the Rebbe spoke to us in Nevuah. Like, it doesn't make any sense that we were scared of it and we dropped it and we ran, like we became so uncomfortable with it. Other than Menashemayim, this whole thing is a Himmlische Indian. There is an Indian by Mashiach where it says he's Nigla, V'nichsa, V'chayze V'nigla. So the fact that Lubavitch, that Rabbanim, that were so till now so uncomfortable with it, now put their signature to it, is really a miracle, Sheba miracle. Second miracle is that yes.
I think does everybody see it? Because I think I just put it up.
No.
Yeah, we see it. What's the second miracle? Go ahead.
I just also feel that this whole team, we were going to work this and somehow pull this together, like in a very amateur way, similar to the way we were doing Evikshu. It was an incredible, beautiful event, but there was no professional team working it. It was just, really the Minatzchim group driving this thing. But the Rebbe decided in this case that we need to get the Mercedes going here. We need to get the dream team. And I flew down to New York in the last week, not knowing anywhere or anything. I just know I have to go to New York because we have to start getting this thing going. And if we're all just going to sit over here in our places, it's not going to happen. I went and I met with somebody. He's not on now. Actually, should be brought on to the Minatzchim. Yitzchak Raskin is his name. He connected me to Levi Sudak, and they connected me to this whole group, this team. And they were terrified. Initially, when we met with them, they were like really scared. They didn't want to touch it. They really, like, they were mesupik, but it was clear. You saw them like this was like too much for them. And you see how the idea sat with them for 2 days. And suddenly we had a good meeting with them yesterday. And they're like, so, yeah, of course. And they were makabelit, and it makes sense to them. And they're putting themselves into it. B'chayas nafshi, time has come. We have to say the full emes. It was such you see the transformation. It's almost like, if I can say, I'm sorry, the kihimas doinag mipnei eish. That just like wax melts in front of fire. This entire campaign, we think to ourselves now, how in the world are we going to get thousands of chassidim? The nekuda over here is, this is a campaign of pure getlichkeit. It's pure elokus. It's pure emes. It's the fire of the neshama. It's the fire of Yechidish Benefesh that is going to be kindled, and it's going to rip through Lubavitch. Because in the emes, in truth, no one forgot. There are certain things that are etched in our core consciousness. Even those who might have been standing till now at a distance and at this, but the etzem, everybody's makushed in this deep place. We all know that Moshe emes v'taydosa emes, and they can't be 5% of his words, or 3%, or 2 years of chas v'shalom of what the Rebbe told us and shared with us. And especially if we realize it's not the last 2 years, it's Basi Legani. The Rebbe spelled it all out in Basi Legani. The Rebbe said, "Why am I here? What's my whole leadership all about?" The Rebbe's entire foundation was this nekuda that we and he, very much referring to himself as the leader of the one, as the Moshe Rabbeinu, was going to bring it to the final line. So this is it. So I think that for us, our koch in this Indian has to be b'pnimiyas hanefesh. I think the reason why we're seeing the success in it, he's speaking the emes, and there was so much. We were trying in many ways to try to step back a little bit and filter it and pull out this. Maybe we don't need to. Maybe it's too much. And there was Rav Zusha was arguing with a Chassidish flam fire. This is what the Rebbe told us. This is the emes, and this is what we're going with. And because it's the emes, and because it's the truth, and it's because that's the reason why it's going to prevail. Those are just my thoughts. Take a look, if we can just go through these names. It's astounding. Yeah, Rabbi often, okay, he's always been on the right side. And then Rabbi Ashkenazi, the Rav for Chabad, Rabbi David Benun, the Rav in Montreal, Rabbi Broin from Crown Heights, okay, Rabbi Yochanan Gorari, he's one of the Vachev Bezin in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yosef Gorvitz, Rabbi Mendel Golchowski, a name like that to come out openly, Rabbi Chaim Tzvi Groner from Australia, Rabbi Moshe Havlin. These are names that people that were not at all standing on this side of the aisle. Also from the Vad Rabban Lubavitch, Yossi Hecht, Rabbi Yosef Hendel, Baruch Hertz from Chicago. This is. I don't even know what to say. This is unbelievable. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Lasheke, Rabbi Shneur Zalman Lashansky, Rabbi Yom Zilberstrom. I know him personally. He used to come. He comes always to Los Angeles, and I know that he was always a little uncomfortable with my full throttle Rebbe Mashiach, and the fact that he signed on this. He's a real Chiddush Yid, but to come out and to back this, to me, was a Chiddush. All I can say. Reb Chaikin from Rebel Chaikin, from Khartonov, Yurkowitz, Akesh, whatever. Go through the list over here. Rabbi Leshes from Muncie, whatever. You got Rabbi Asher Farkash, Reb David Shachat. This was a Chiddush B'Chiddushim, and Rabbi Shusterman from Los Angeles. I went in personally. And Reb Nachman Shapiro. I mean, this is an incredible list, and there are still more in the works. So I think that this page of Rabbanim is giving a very good representation of Chabad around the board, the thing. And although there definitely is still pockets of resistance, but I think we don't have to be nispal from it, because I think if we're going with it, not chas v'shalom in a manner of nitzchainis, not chas v'shalom as I told you so or something like this, but with a pure fire of the neshama, everybody is gonna, because iki azman, because the time is now. There's davos savartin anymore. Time is now.
I would, if I may ask, just add over here, since you mentioned pocket of resistance, let me say that any resistance is not resistance. It's more reluctance because of side cheshbonos, not because of the inyan in itself. The inyan itself, there's nobody, at least in my experience, and I've spent some time talking to people, that nobody who disagrees with it. Some people have whatever their Chabad al-Asar situation is. But nobody that I came across says, no, I'm against it.
It's also interesting because in addition to this list, there's about 6 people that are not listed because they didn't want to be listed, but they gave the full support. They themselves said they would sign. So, and these are very, very respectable names in Lubavitch, like big time, and not and not from what we might call throughout all the years the Mashiachist.
So I think that's primarily right now. First of all, if anybody has any ideas, suggestions, advice, because this is just a whole bunch of chevra. Nobody was memana. Anybody here? It was just.
Yeah, I do have a suggestion, by the way. I think you should get. This is all very nice names, but I think if you want to get the younger chevra, I don't know if the younger chevra really appreciate. Maybe they will, but I think, like I said, I suggest that they put in a young mashpiach, Mendel Lipsker.
Oh yeah, I'm going to add him in.
Yes, he has to be added on the list.
But I think you should get more young people shluchim that people look up to. Listen, you might make fun of, people that have big Chabad houses. Many young people look up to them.
100%. In fact, we
know if anybody.
We turn to everybody here. Who can assist with that?
I would like to write. I would like to start creating a list right now of chevra, everybody here who knows somebody that they can go to, or
exactly.
Suggest. Let's get this started. Let's get started a list.
We need some younger. We need some more of the fire of the shluchim, if possible.
And anybody, so nobody should be shy. Anybody who knows anybody.
Let me put it this way: the fact that all the Rabbanim signed on it means that the Inyan, no one can argue that the Inyan is not legit. Mitzat Torah. Now it's about people that were uncomfortable mitzat zaytik cheshbonos. So over here is where we have the work that we need to get people on board.
One second. I think it is important. Who has? We have to put. Let's put up the lashon. Let's put up the lashon of the actual ksav.
If I can add just one little thing, I don't know if everybody realizes that we're talking about really, in a sense, a mitzvah saseh that we're only going to get a chance to do it one time in all of history. We've done it a few thousand years ago, but we couldn't do it again once Malchus Beis David was established. Then there's a mitzvah of Saim Tasam Alecha Melech. That's a mitzvah. And just have been done. It's not. It's like, okay, people are used to. We always fall back to what our fathers did. Was Mekubal. This Mashiach is new, and new in the sense that when the time comes, it requires. It's what I'm saying is sometimes people look at this whole thing and think it's a Wildkeit, it's Chassidim irrigation. This is very, very fundamental. David HaMelech was Nimshach b'Shemen HaMishcha from Shmuel HaNavi, and yet his Malchus was not established until the people rallied behind him. And that's what the Rebbe says in the Sikha. The Rebbe says, the Minoi from David Malka Mashiach is Shein Geven. The Rebbe said it, and look, in the end of Pashas, Mishpatim, Tafshin Nun Aleph. Everybody's kochen sich Mishpatim Nun Beis. In Mishpatim Nun Aleph, in the last paragraph, the Rebbe says, the Minoi from David Malka Mashiach is doch Shein Geven, like it says, Vetzasi David Avdi. The Ein Sixte Zach, or something like that, the Lashon, that's what's this Ibigablim, is to be the Kabbalah Samalchus Agedei. There's only a certain degree of how much the Rebbe can say it, because he's basically calling for his own election. And he's not like the Elif of Dallas who was going to go campaigning for himself. That's our job. That's our job as Chassidim. But this is very serious business. And whoever has the schus to take part in this is unbelievable, because this is going to stand adil and itself. This is basically putting Melech HaMashiach on his throne and bringing redemption to the entire world, because redemption can't just be an era. It's not just an era. And it's not, we're watching the world slowly progressing. We're watching a movement. But if we want to get it really, to its ultimate, there needs to be a goyel. The goyel brings the Geulah. That's the basics of Hilchos Malachim, Yamid Melech. Without the Yamid Melech, gate garnished. So, of course, there is the Rebbe Yamod Nesiim, and the Malchus is there. But this Indian needs a big chizuk, and it needs a powerful thrust. And here's our opportunity. I believe, and I don't know if this opportunity comes around the way it's now. It's 120 years. Chassidim are b'Yisraelus. We're after 2 years of unbelievable stages where we realize that we can't stay in Golos anymore. They're shaking us up, no maila.
But I think hold on. I think Yeshleimar. I think
it's the call of the hour.
Hold on. I think for the younger generation, there has to be a dogosh to explain to them the Inyan after Gimel Tammuz, either in a video or in a couple of lines, because I think it's a bit far away from them, because you know what I'm saying? They don't see the gashmistic physical aspect to it, so they don't really connect to it. That's what I see. For us, for people that started Rebbe, people the older generation, it's a davar pasha. As you can see, look at the whole list. Those are the people that you know what I mean.
Mitzad Sheni, the younger generation has an openness that the older generation doesn't have. There's a certain, in the older generation, you can say there was a certain, I was there already before what happened, we got burnt out. The younger generation is fresh and clean, and when you speak Dvarim Hayotzim and Alev, but you're right, we have to say Dvarim. We do have to say Dvarim.
I think you have to have a video or something explaining the Inyan.
Yeah. Mitzvah Hashem, there's going to be. That's one of the things. One of the main things that this team is working on. These chevra that do this professionally. But the point is that you're 100% right. The reason why this list is in a sense one particular demographic of Lubavitch is because one person had genommen zum Arbeit,
right,
and he reached out to his colleagues. So that's exactly part of the thing of Minatzchim. If Reb Zusha was able to put together this incredible list pretty much on his own, then later, with everybody's help here, just going to 2 or 3 more chevra that that you can talk to and talk strongly, because Chavedim or whatever it is.
I'm interrupting. I want to give you an example. Mendy Majeski reached out to Moshe Farkash, and he got him. As an example.
Right.
So there are people, somebody else has reached out to the sister, right? So there's a lot of people out there that Shpim or Shluchim that are the people who, as you say, that have a hashpah on the younger Shluchim and other, and they would be willing. Now there is a reluctance, and I'm going to share this. I won't mention his name because he asked me not to, but he's very much for it. But he said, I just don't feel comfortable that my name belongs there, right? This is also something that you have to overcome. You're going to have 1 or 2 people that are shluchim, that have a voice, that have a following.
Yeah. Also, first of all, Label was asking, what about the Nashim Tzidkaniyos? So we know from the eviction that the Nashim Tzidkaniyos are 10 steps ahead of us. Really, we're the ones. It was Nashim Tzidkaniyos. It was true then. It's true now. There's a whole bunch of these Helike Chayalis that are standing by, and as soon as we give them the information, they can take it and run with it and bring guns, the Sheikh Chabad on board. They're very powerful this way. They've already, to a certain degree, they haven't even waited for us to get our act together, and so it's going to be on us a little bit, whatever it is, to calibrate this with what they've already been running with. The same ones that we from the eviction campaign are really kind of, they're waiting impatiently. We are going to present it. But really, I mean, there's a lot of people here on this Zoom that know and have access and are connected to either they themselves are machers. We're not going to mention any of their names because.
Oh, 1 minute. Is it shaykh to have the the sefer from Lieberman, the Ian of Mashiach Binyamin HaMesim, attached to this? What do you call it? Not really.
It's a nice safer and it's a good thing, but I don't like it because the whole, I think it brings a certain heaviness.
Shakavataria and this and that.
Mason.
Okay.
How many times are we going to say that, Chas v'shalom? You know what I'm saying? You know,
I think
I'm just saying maybe
from a cold Litvish perspective of halacha, you want to go into that realm.
No, again, you have to think of many.
It should be available for someone who's asking for that, but I wouldn't put it into the main Indian because you're right away pulling everybody into that dark space of this, element. But us the emes is emes because the Rebbe told us, we saw with our own eyes.
No, I'm saying it might be people. I just hope, it just might be a group.
It should be available for someone who needs it, for someone who's asking. That don't slug it up just because you say that technically it can't be l'so api halacha.
It should be a certain either video or something like I mentioned before for the younger generation. That's what I think. I don't know. No.
What we do really need is that we need to form teams. The way this works is charity. So we're going to need to have teams of people in every community that are going to, like it is in every charity campaign. People take upon themselves a certain amount of money. You say, I'm going to raise 5,000. I'm going to raise 10,000. When you're signing up with my team. The beautiful part of it here is when you're doing things like that is that everybody can create their own inspiration, and people can create their own video, or they can write something, and they can use that as their push to get people to sign. So if we had 120 teams from Friday operating for 5 days, and every single team is, and you realize 60 of them could be women and 60. We only need 60 of them being men. 60 teams.
Hold on, can I ask? I'm just thinking, can I ask be also, maybe we put a goal for tzedakah to raise, maybe that can be a push that goes with it? Doesn't have to be a major, huh?
Whatever.
Maybe you can say
why would we add more in Yanim? I mean, you're asking for achlata, and we're asking that true. You don't want to make this sound like anybody's making money off this. This needs to be.
No, you can say no, but don't forget. You don't have to give $100, $1. We just need to get a certain amount. I'm just putting that out there. Now maybe give it as a push. I don't know.
The push has to be the etzem inyan, not a side inyan.
It can help.
It can be helping the Ukrainian Jews, and then the derech agav, you're signing this that you hardly read it. That's not the nekuda here. The nekuda is that everybody's really reading, very, very much paying attention to what this is, and they're understanding that they are fulfilling the mitzvah of Seim Tassim Alecha Melech. They're accepting the malchus, and they're giving themselves over to be a subject in this kingdom.
But we have to be practical. Many people don't have it the way you understand it, Ruin, the way we understand it. You know what I mean? You to Dabra Pashat. For other people, it's nicht anyway.
But that's why part of this video is going to be both to provide information and to inspire. In other words, to put together the logic stream of this point from sicha to sicha to sicha, that this equals this equals this, or this plus this plus this equals this, and that would be a lot of times whenever you see these marketing videos, the marketing videos are not for somebody who's already committed to buying the product, or else you wouldn't need a video for them. the marketing videos or whatever it is to take somebody who could even be ambivalent or possibly even antagonistic, and then as they feel there to tell them why this is something important. It's interesting that to a certain degree we went through the evolution of this with the young Lubavitchers that are part of this marketing team themselves. They were originally like, they were like, I don't know, this sounds a little, kind of beyond the comfort zone of most Lubavitchers, whatever it was.
How did they get on board? Did they saw the signatures?
Oh no, we verbring together, and a few
Oh.
it came out, but when we were trying to figure it out,
maybe hold on a minute. So maybe we could tackle. You're saying a verbring will be too sticky to make a verbring in a couple of days before. You don't listen.
No, every place should have the verbring, but we can't count on everybody. We want this to be everywhere with everybody. So the emes is that's the point of that. That's why we went to these chavre. These chavre will make Hashem capture what they heard that moved them and put it into a video, and in an elevator pitch or less, do it. Now for the chavre that need a little bit more, that's one of the reasons we're going to these community leaders, because we want them to push the agenda, to try and do everything out of one, to try and convince every single Lubavitcher out of one central hub is not going to happen. So the shaila is whether we can create between the video, between the outreach to the various community leaders in each place, then you start building the momentum. It starts to effervesce from there. And I think this is one of the places where we really use everybody's help, which is to identify the people that any particular community looks up to, who and we're not talking about the biggest names, but like when they do the Tut Alts mitzvah. So I got a phone call from Levi Gordon, who's my age, but he's a mashpia in the Kehillah in Oak Park, Michigan. Something like that. Just a, not the Welt machers, the local machers, the ones that can be pile in their community. And when somebody has these questions, and Isaac, they're unsure about, they don't have to come call us or reach out to us. They can go to this Cheverman, and this Cheverman will explain why this is an important Indian, and he will use the language that we'll have provided if they need it. But that's kind of the effort here is the Chavre.
Oh, what's about the idea we had to put out a kavitz with all the kisviyad of the Rebbe? If you do that on the website, that can be something available.
Right. We want to include that in the packet. We want to include that in the packet.
No, it should be also online, no?
Yeah. No, enachanami on the website. For more info about this, click here, and it could lead to
you have to have a convincing.
You have
to have a convincing argument. Yeah.
So first of all, anybody know, or I want to suggest, like we just got somebody said Mendel Lipsker, anybody else? I know that Rav Gershi was on a little bit ago, and he just, I don't know if he's still on, but I'm hoping that obviously he and his influence can push it for those that he has their ear. But that's the thing. Anybody know, wherever we are, we have California represented here, we have the Middle America, the East Coast. Anybody?
What happened to the Jacobsons? It didn't work. What's his name?
No, it didn't not work. It's and Simon is right now debating with himself how much he wants to give, how much he wants to be proactive in this. He said he will definitely mention it. He would definitely mention it. Now the shaila is how strongly he pushes it is something he has to decide for himself. But Simon will be talking about it. Yes. So does Ari? First of all, would anybody who can approach him specifically? So I mentioned Shlomo Kunyan.